In Mega Man's long history, there are many titles that have been placed in the pantheon of gaming greats, like Mega Man 2 or Mega Man X. But since the series has so many games, there are many that tend to fall by the wayside. Mega Man 5 is the easiest example of this I can point to, since it was the 5th game released on the same console and people were experiencing some real sequelitis with this one. But I'm always willing to give a game a chance and meet it where it's at, so that's what I'm here for today. But before I even think about it, I imagine that building robots like Mega Man requires a lot of intelligence. I mean, I wouldn't know because I don't make robots, but Dr. Light definitely does, and I would say he's pretty smart, which is why he's definitely going to pay attention to the following ad, because I've decided to partner up with Brilliant to be the sponsor of today's video. Brilliant is an online learning platform created by instructors, researchers, and other professionals from MIT, Caltech, Duke, Microsoft, Google, and the list goes on. You get to develop your own learning habits with daily lessons you can do that aid in both your professional and personal goals, growing your problem-solving and critical thinking skills. Lessons containing hand-on problems you can solve to help you learn material in the place of traditional lectures. They have content that introduces you to data like probability, visual data, and modeling with multiple variables. There are exercises in programming and LLMs as well. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/jaysreviews or click on the link in the description. You also get 20% off on an annual premium subscription. Since I read your mind earlier, I already know you want it, so you're welcome. But yeah, we shall now return to the regularly scheduled programming. So as I was saying, Mega Man 5 is the poster child of the Mega Man franchise being an endless sea of sequels that are more or less the same. The second trilogy of Mega Man games on the original Nintendo have that reputation as a whole, but Mega Man 4 had the charge shot, and Mega Man 6 had the worldwide setting and rush power-ups to make them stand out. Mega Man 5 really is Mega Man the next one. If anything, that reputation is Mega Man 5's defining legacy. Once upon a time, it was accepted as common knowledge that this lack of innovation inherently made Mega Man 5 one of the weaker entries, but more recently, I've seen a paradigm shift where people are wondering, is being Mega Man the next one an inherently bad thing? Does that invalidate everything a game does do just because it's familiar? I'd certainly say not. I think a game can offer a lot inherently when you remove the expectation that a sequel is going to be a massive leap. Having said that, I haven't played Mega Man 5 in over 8 years. I've only played this game all the way through twice before now. Once when I first played it in 2015 alongside the other Mega Man games, and the second was from my Let's Play channel back in 2016. I had gone into those old playthroughs in my videos on Mega Man 1, 2, and 3, but now I figured I'd talk about the LPs one last time. My Let's Play career on that side channel only lasted about a year and a half, with some later playthroughs releasing on this channel, though I later deleted them. But anyway, the playthroughs of Mega Man 4 and 5 are historically significant to me because this was my first time I'd ever worked with other people for videos. Exo Paradigm Gamer and SQG to be specific. Mega Man 4 Part 1 turned into a disaster where one of us didn't have their mic plugged in, and I, with my infinite wisdom, was like, it's fine, no need to re-record.
And I think this will be up after that anyway.
But the rest of it turned out just fine, it was a lot of fun.
And then there's like this one villager who's like a healer. You gotta bring him certain fetch quest items you just find just playing the game like normal.
But I keep bringing up these LPs in these videos because I do have a lot of nostalgia for it and want them to be immortalized somewhat. But like I said, I probably won't bring it up again because there isn't much else to say about it besides that. So let's just get into Mega Man 5 properly. From the intro cutscene, we learn that, in the year 20XX, a vicious army of robots is bent on destroying the world. Dr. Light even being kidnapped, and their leader is Proto Man. Well, that intro wasted no time in getting to the point, but like Mega Man 4, I have to say the production values are really good by NES standards, like the shot of the scarf falling down into Mega Man's hand. It's really not much, but these later NES Mega Man games just look so good compared to what came before. The in-game graphics have once again increased in quality. Just look at the backgrounds and details in Crystal Man's stage. The background colors keep changing depending on what part of the cave you're in. It looks really appealing. The forests of Napalm Man's stage have a lot of colors and detail compared to previous games, as does Stone Man's level, Wave Man's level, and the rest. This game is just really easy on the eyes. But yeah, in this game, supposedly the original Robot Master, Proto Man, has gone rogue and has 8 Robot Masters of his own unleashing havoc. Starman, Gyro Man, Napalm Man, Crystal Man, Gravity Man, Stone Man, Charge Man, and Wave Man. They kidnap Dr. Light, and now Mega Man has to stop the rampaging mechs and learn the truth about what's going on. Mega Man's greatest ally in this game is Dr. Cossack. Trying to make amends for what happened in Mega Man 4, Cossack began working with Dr. Light on upgrades for Mega Man. The one you have by default is the Super Mega Buster. In Mega Man 4, you charged your attack up to 2 levels, but Mega Man 5 made it more powerful. The blast itself just takes up more of the screen than the thin beam from 4. This is a big improvement because the hitbox is bigger, so the odds of the attack hitting the enemies has gone way up, especially for tinier foes. Though before I move on, I should probably mention something that slipped my mind last time, which was that the Mega Buster in 4 through 6 is loud as hell when charging up. It makes it really hard to hear the music, as you just have to hear all the time. That especially sucks because I can't think of many bad Mega Man soundtracks. 5 is my least favorite of the NES games, but still, I want to be able to listen to the music. But I also want to charge my shots, but the audio balance is absolutely terrible. But when just speaking on the mechanics, that bigger charge shot is the greatest change to how Mega Man plays in this game. It's not nothing, since this version of the Mega Buster continued to be used in all the following games. It's just not that significant of a shakeup compared to what Mega Man 2, 3, and even 4 brought to the table. Otherwise, Mega Man plays exactly how he did in 4, which was basically how he played in 3. But that is where the greater nuance begins. Sure, playing as Mega Man is exactly the same as 3 and 4. The slide and charge shot bring in the same advantages to the levels and enemy design that they did in those games, but I just think Mega Man 5 does it better. No memes, I think these are the best levels in the classic series thus far. All of them are fairly designed with obstacles you can get past with patience and observation, packed full of variety too. I always start my run of Mega Man 5 on Starman stage, which has low gravity, allowing you to jump really high, but then you need to time it to not hit the spikes on the ceiling. Gravity Man stage has the gimmick where you'll flip from the ground to the ceiling, and some of the controls will be flipped. When Mega Man 5 introduces elements like this, it will test them out in safe environments and gradually make them more complex as you traverse the level. Crystal Man stage has these falling crystals in the caves, and if you want, you can bypass them pretty easily with Starman's weapon. However, if you just watch the crystals fall, you can clearly see the pattern and get through it, which I thought was really satisfying. In Gyro Man stage, I thought it was really interesting when you had these platforms that would fall after you stood on them for a few seconds, but also enemies that drop from the sky if they saw you. So you need to time your movements so that the enemy will fall before the platform crumbles beneath you. Wave Man's level having this cool set piece halfway through where you need to go up on these bubbles. The big ones support Mega Man's weight, but the tiny ones will pop after standing on them for a few seconds. You need to get through this one by knowing where to stand on the small ones and when to stand on the big ones. Virtually every level in Mega Man 5 has something like that, a cool defining gimmick that lends itself to creative platforming, and I'm absolutely here for it. The only part of the game I could point to and say, yeah, I didn't like that part was the jet ski segment of Wave Man stage where you couldn't pause the game, so I couldn't use E-tanks when getting hit. Other than that, I really thought Mega Man 5 had consistently good levels. But I can say this. Folks claim this game is easy, and I can see why. I thought navigating the levels was good fun in Mega Man 5, but I noticed pretty early on that the game was dropping extra lives like candy. I had about 7 lives within like 2 levels. It certainly made the learning process more comfortable in this game than it was in earlier entries, but I can't say I paid it much mind. I don't feel like lives and game overs add much to games anyway, so a game giving me more breathing room to make mistakes and try again wasn't something I was against while playing. But speaking of dropping goodies, there is a system specifically for that. In Mega Man 4, the player was introduced to Eddie. He'd drop into stages and give you extra ammo or health or maybe even an E-tank. He also does this in Mega Man 5. I only bring it up because I was told I forgot to mention it in the Mega Man 4 video when I just didn't bother because there wasn't much to say about it besides what I just did. On the subject of E-tanks, I wasn't drowning in those as much as I was extra lives, but I did come across those in stages on a regular basis and put them to good use during boss fights. New to Mega Man 5 is the Mega Tank, or the M-Tank. This will refill your health and all your special weapon energy, so it's best to save this one for moments when you really need it and use the E-Tanks whenever you find them useful. Mega Man 4 introduced some light exploration elements to the formula, and Mega Man 5 really ran with this. As I said in the previous video, the Mega Man X series really expanded on the exploration element in a satisfying way, but I think you can really see the origins of that in Mega Man 5. In each of the 8 stages, you'll find a letter, and collecting them all spells out Mega Man V. Some of these are in plain sight, you just need to get it without dying, or time your movement just right to grab it. The one in Crystal Man stage kinda pissed me off though, because you just fly by it during a falling spike tunnel, and I had to play the whole stage again to get it. But besides that, I thought they were all fun to look for and grab. It just immerses you in the level design more, like in Stone Man stage when I saw this part underneath the ladder. I just felt like something had to be there, and what I found was hidden goodies behind the rocks. This stage and Napalm Man stage have moments where you need to find your way around some rocks for hidden upgrades, which I found really rewarding. So when looking at Mega Man 5's levels for how they handled platforming and other obstacles, I think this is a winning roster, and then the levels have this increased emphasis on exploration, which makes them even better. When you collect all the Mega Man letters, your reward is another robotic companion for Mega Man. Dr. Light and Dr. Cossack were working together to create Beat the Bird. When activated, Beat will just fly after and attack your enemies for as long as the meter lasts. Because you have to collect the Mega Man V letters first, you won't be using this in the main 8 bosses, but in Fortress bosses it'll be pretty useful. Which is actually a pretty natural segue into this game's boss fights. Mega Man 5 is pretty interesting from that perspective, because I find the boss patterns to all be reasonable to deal with. Starman is the easiest one to pick first, because he just jumps around the room in a huge arc that's easy to dodge, and his star attack is also super simple to get past. But most bosses are pretty readable like that, even if they aren't as easy, like Gyro Man's discs or Stone Man jumping up from the ground. Fighting the bosses normally is not that much of a hassle in Mega Man 5, but sometimes using their weaknesses on them can be. Stone Man's weapon, for example, creates this circle of rocks, and this is Charge Man's weakness. But lining the shot up to hit his face is kinda weird. It's worth it for the huge damage boost, but it is awkward. Similarly, Charge Man's weapon just lets you do damage with the slide, but then using this on Wave Man makes it hard not to take damage in the process. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to spam Gravity Man's weapon on Gyro Man or wait for him to be on the screen. These issues won't get in the way of you winning, but it will be cumbersome nevertheless. Like Mega Man 4, once you defeat the 8 Robot Masters, you're taken to the first of 2 Fortress Gauntlets. To quickly recap, I said in the Mega Man 4 video that I thought 2 Fortresses was a good way of creating more content for the endgame, but Mega Man 4's final levels weren't that compelling, so the execution wasn't great, similar to Mega Man 3. I said that if 5 and 6 created better final stages, that I'd look back at the 2 castles idea favorably, and to my surprise, Mega Man 5 actually pulled it off. Both the Proto Man and Wily castles of Mega Man 5 are really well designed. I wished the checkpoints were more generous, as I had to start Proto Man 1 from the beginning multiple times, but the stage design was really solid. The final stages bring back enemies from earlier in the game and make them tougher to deal with, as you need to fight your way through them while avoiding instant death obstacles. Sounds tough, but the game makes it work. The designers know you have access to your full toolkit by this point and expect you to make use of them. The various special weapons will be needed to deal with enemies, like Gravity Man's weapon sending flying enemies off the screen. The returning Rush Coil and Rush Jet are both necessary during the Fortress stages as well. Rush Coil's kinda weird in this game though. In the last 2 games, you just jump on Rush and a spring would send you into the air, but in this one, Rush bounces up with you, which took a second to get used to. Numerous castle levels make use of the new tool Mega Man has in his arsenal, the Super Arrow. This is something you can fire that will give you a platform to stand on whenever it hits the wall. And as I said, it's needed in this Fortress sequence many times. The stage designs get pretty unique as well. Like one of the Proto Man levels, we need to shoot these pillars to gradually make the building fall down without getting yourself killed or trapped in the process. It was pretty easy, but it's a memorable stage gimmick. The final set of bosses are also interesting. Like this one, we need to blast one of the 2 bottom platforms so that they attack you, but jumping on them gives you the chance to get high enough to destroy the head. All in all, I was pretty impressed by the finale of Mega Man 5. The designers really learned their lesson from the easy endgames of Mega Man 3 and 4 and created a final set of levels that's a worthy challenge increase from the rest of the game. Of course, there are still Mega Man staples like a tedious boss rush right before the end, but at this point I've reviewed enough Mega Man games to where it's a given that this part is a boring piece of shit in my opinion. Not much else I can say on it after 33 other Mega Man reviews in the last 8 years. The final boss is also kind of a dud in this one. The last battle of Mega Man 4 basically beat itself in a dark void, but then Mega Man 5 is almost exactly the same, only it takes triple the time. He just spawns around the room with easily dodgeable attacks, and you hit him when he's in range of your charge shots. Beat makes this a lot easier, but I wish I had thought of using him in my first go around, because doing this with the Mega Buster alone takes way too long. But come to think of it, I don't think the final boss was good in any of these classic Mega Man games thus far, so that's also something to keep an eye on as well as we go through these games. But then, there still isn't much to the ending in this one either. At the end of the Proto Man castle, it turns out that, surprise surprise, Proto Man isn't actually evil and Dr. Wily made a fake one to trick everyone. The real Proto Man showing up at the last second to save the day. Mega Man then gets to save Dr. Light and they all escape. Wily also getting away to fight another day, which is basically the same ending as Mega Man 4. But I would still say that shockingly, Mega Man 5 contributes more to the ongoing story than 4. On the one hand, Cossack has teamed up with Mega Man in this game, but that's never mentioned in-game, so you can easily ignore that. Mega Man 5, I'd say, is when it became solidified that Proto Man was Mega Man's ally, saving the day from the fake one. So that's certainly something long-term to take away from 5, which is more than you could say in 4. But either way, Mega Man 5 then quickly takes you to the credits. In conclusion, what I came to realize while making this video was that Mega Man 5 was easily the most well-rounded game in the series thus far. I might be the most surprised by this outcome as anybody. I haven't thought that hard about Mega Man 5 all that much since the Let's Play, which was 8 years ago. I just always accepted that Mega Man 5 was a bland game that amounted to little more than Mega Man the next one, like I said at the beginning. If you also feel this way about Mega Man 5 and haven't played it in a while, I'd honestly recommend giving it a shot, but on its own, not in a series-wide binge. When binging the whole series, it becomes easy to overlook this game because of its lack of direct innovation. However, when stopping to do an analysis on the game, I found a pretty well-made platformer. In execution, I just think Mega Man 5 hits in areas that Mega Man 1 through 4 all missed in. The only real knocks I can think of with this one is that the special weapons aren't as interesting and powerful as, say, Mega Man 2, but I already think that by this point in the series, the moveset and equipment has been shifted away from direct combat into more general utility, and I think the levels really benefited from that. This isn't me saying Mega Man 5 is some amazing game that's a total showstopper or whatever. I just think it's a fun game that's consistently good throughout. It won't come up when I think of the best Mega Man games or even my favorite classic Mega Man games, but it was a pretty good time. However, while reflecting on it, I think this game is, to some extent, doomed to be overlooked forever. The reason why it is commonly accepted wisdom that Mega Man 5, and 4 and 6 to a lesser extent, are not as good as Mega Man's 1 through 3 or the X series or whatever is because of the fact they just left less of an impact on the franchise, and thus left less of an impact on the pop culture discourse. A lot of people these days get into Mega Man specifically because of YouTubers, and in that realm it was super reinforced during the 2000s and the 2010s that Mega Man's 1 through 3 were the important ones and 4 through 6 were much less so. So that is how you reach a point where Mega Man 5 is the poster child for a lack of innovation, not even taking into account how well made the game is or is not. Do I think it's unfortunate that Mega Man 5 will never really get that much credit from a lot of people? Yeah, but do I think it's unjustified? Well, that's more complicated. Really, what it all boils down to is the phrase wow factor. If you look at games or any art as a purely objective, numbers-based system, it shouldn't make sense for a blatantly unfinished game like Mega Man 3 to be more fondly remembered than Mega Man 5, which has improved upon everything that game failed to do. But that takes the human element out of how we experience the art in question. Of course Mega Man 1 through 3 will be better remembered. Mega Man 1 is the one that started it. It created the non-linear stage progression system that was largely unheard of before. Mega Man 2 upped the boss roster to 8 Robot Masters, which is a staple of the series. It improved on the handling and presentation from Mega Man 1. It got this massive marketing campaign from Nintendo Power, as did Mega Man 3. So many 80s kids just played 2 and 3 first and thus remember them the best. 3 adding iconic Mega Man moves and characters like the Slide and Rush and Proto Man. Mega Man 1 is this game that almost didn't get localized and got that horrendous US box art that no doubt had a role to play in the game not really taking off. Mega Man 2 was a game made on the weekends of the developers because Capcom didn't really have a lot of faith in Mega Man after that first one, making its success this impressive underdog story. And thus, consequently, Mega Man 3 being a rushed, messy production is also an interesting story. But for Mega Man's 4, 5, and 6, the team had a proper handle on what they wanted Mega Man to be, so there isn't really a saga of how the game came to be. They execute on the ideas of the first trilogy better in many respects, but that's not very interesting compared to those first few games, is it? If you want to see how the Mega Man IP came to be and evolved, the first 3 are must-plays. The second 3, not as much. My point in this being that, yeah, I think Mega Man 5 is really good, but I totally see why it has the reputation it does. Even I, in a year from now or whatever, will probably be able to recall the first 3 games better than this one because they're more interesting games to talk about, even if I don't think they're better games. So I hope that discussion and this whole video has shined a light on why people are more kind to these later NES games now upon the revisit than they used to be, since you can just assess the game design divorced from the nostalgia of the NES era, while also making it clear that it isn't wrong for that to have had an impact. But that's just about all the time we have for today. So next up is the final Mega Man game on the NES. Mega Man 6, which is always one I felt pretty positively about, so we'll see if that still holds up. In the meantime, I'll close by saying what I always do. If you made it this far into the video, I would like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.